Hello everybody, thanks for watching today. Today I am going to go over the torque converter installation on this and just show you a couple of the problems that I've had as far as the Tab 2 kit that I originally ordered versus what is actually required for something of this weight and driving 24-inch tires. This isn't a go-kart and getting just a $60 Walmart special go-kart torque converter had its share of problems. So let me get zoomed in on that here for you. First up, just to open everything up here. So I'm looking in from the wheel well here, and basically on this front pulley, I've used some Allen head style. They were 5/16 24 bolts. They were about an inch long, 1 inch long. And I used some red Loctite to hold them in place. And for the shaft, it's also 5/16 24. But I had to use a longer bolt. I think it was 1.5 inches long for that one. Looking back here real quick to see if it's sitting out, and of course it isn't. Oh, there it is. So this was the bolt that I used. That little cap, that washer, is for the main clutch. But that's probably actually closer to probably a 2.5 inch bolt. And that's, yeah, that holds the driven clutch, or the driver clutch, up on the front. And then you've got an arbor shaft that comes out for the back. So originally I had used a 12-tooth pulley on the reverse, and you can actually see that 12-tooth pulley is welded onto this pulley came off of the quad. I didn't actually count the teeth, but it's slightly smaller than my 40-tooth pulley that I've got. So I want to say it's probably in the upper 30s on the tooth count. So going from a 10 to a 12, I roasted the belt. I mean, you can see the belt. I only drove this thing up the driveway to the chicken coop and back, and the belt was destroyed. It only wanted to do it in reverse with a 10-tooth pulley here to a 12-tooth pulley there. After putting the 72-tooth 35 chain sprocket on it, so I went from a 40-tooth to a 72-tooth, it still didn't want to go. Now, that all being said, the belt was already roasted, so I don't know how bad it would have been, but I assumed that even with that gear ratio, it was way off. So I'm going to try using this sprocket that I made here just to get that extra gear reduction going, because I don't want to keep roasting this thing out. Now, the original clutch, this is the rear clutch, it has a red spring in there, and I can't find out any information about what the engagement is on these red springs. So I ordered a yellow spring, which is a low-end torque spring. So I'll be changing that out, but that's coming in the mail in a couple of days, so I don't have that here. To get that lined up, you've got your sprocket that goes on the shaft first. So your shaft comes out here. You put your sprocket on that drives up to here. And then you put your driven clutch on there. And that kind of sets the spacing on how far off the back plate this is. Then you have to run your front clutch in line with this edge. And your front clutch goes on here. Let's see. And if it's shoved all the way back, and that's why I use those panhead Allen screws, because hex screws could have potentially ground up on the back side of this plate. So with that all the way back and getting the front clutch on, you basically have an 1.25 inches maybe. Here, let's look at it from the top. There's about 1 inch of shaft that the other half of the clutch can engage on. But to get the two out there, I had to stack a packet of shims in there, and it looked more like that. Maybe even a little bit closer, because by the time I had it done, I had less than 1/2 inch of key shaft for the other half of the clutch. The other half of the clutch, where are you? So anyways, I only need the centerpiece. But it's all driven off of this. Getting that much engagement. So that was a horrible design. I didn't like it, and I found a solution for it, which will allow me to actually, I didn't get enough shims on it to perfectly align it with this back pulley because I had gotten to the point where the shaft was becoming an issue. I just didn't have enough grip on there, but I went ahead and got the Juggernaut. You might have seen this on Cars and Cameras or Redbeard's Garage or lots of other places. It's a performance mod for high RPM engines, which doesn't help me at all, but it's a one-piece design, and you basically don't have that same issue. You can run it further out on the shaft and you're gonna keep the clutch together. So that being said, I can actually run those extra couple of shims to get these two pulleys to align and not worry about running out a keyway shaft coming out of the motor. So with the Juggernaut, it's advertised to eliminate belt slippage. With the replacement spring, which was $13 at OMB Warehouse. No, I'm sorry, BMIcarts.com. I got their yellow spring. It's supposed to be for low-end torque. It was 13 bucks. So I'm hoping that that eliminates the torque converter issues. I've got a 3-pack of belts coming later today, so I'll hopefully be able to take another route or to take another run out and see how the gearing feels. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and leave the 72-tooth sprocket, or 72-tooth sprocket, even though it's 35 chain. I do want to switch back to 40 chain here pretty soon, but I want to make sure that that fits. As far as the 40 chain sprocket goes, I got a 55-tooth. I wouldn't recommend going any bigger than that if you're still using the swing arm, because on a 41 chain 55-tooth sprocket, it's a little bit bigger diameter than the 72-tooth, which ends up putting you really close to that rear cross member there. So 55-tooth 41 series sprocket, it's probably like a 38 or a 39 41 series sprocket. The Juggernaut, hopefully soon a replacement rear spring. And I'm gonna get this together and take her for a ride. We'll see where it goes. All right, so here's a shot of what I mean about getting your pulleys right. This lighting's not very good, but over here, actually, let's see here. That's slightly better. So you can see how this can go back and forth on the shaft. You kind of got to get it positioned where you need it, and ideally you need it flush with this pulley back here on the back side. So right there is about where I like it, and then the belt will go on from there. And like I said, this is gonna give me the proper spacing, which I didn't have before because I had to still grip the crankshaft, so I had it about there before. Now I can go ahead and stack a bunch of shims in there and get that pulley to about there. Just got my belts, so I'm gonna get this shimmed out and bolted on, get the belt on it, and take it for a test drive. All right, so everything's back together, and I'm gonna start it up, take it for a little test drive, see how it goes. Let's see how it does. Well, I'm not going to make it through that with this thing, but the Geo does. All right, filled her with what I just had lying around right here. Let's see if she starts without the choke. It's all right. Uh-oh. Well, I know that the tank wasn't that full of gas, so maybe that's my problem. Should have plenty in there. Ooh, almost flooded it. All right. Go back down and give her some fresh gas. This gas has been sitting in there for about a year. All right, so just looking in there, my belt is still in good condition. So everything appears to have been able to take it. Now, obviously, that was not very fast. I want to say the top speed was probably like 10 to 15 miles an hour. But it was taking all of the inclines on my property. And yeah, I think that maybe there was still a little bit of room for some slightly taller gears, but I'm happy with it being pretty low range right now, just because of the hills out here. So it was a great test. I'm glad that she's finally running. Now if I can just button up these wires, get it all tucked in nice, and finish my panhard bar, this thing's going to be about ready for service. So thank you all for watching, and if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I'll have more coming at you. Take care.